Hi, my name is Mike Housden and I'm Head of Institutional Business in EMEA at Columbia Threadneedle Investments. Since its inaugural publication in 2015, we have been proud to collaborate with the Pensions Policy Institute on its annual DC Future Book. This compendium of statistics and commentary continues to promote a better understanding of trends and themes in the defined contribution market in the UK, and it allows us to provide the right DC fund solutions for clients. We are pleased to have seen it become an invaluable resource of information and look forward to the launch of this year's edition.
Demographic, policy and market changes mean that in future retirees will be living longer, entitled to state pension later, more likely to reach retirement with more DC savings and low or no entitlement to defined benefits, and experiencing greater flexibility in how they access those DC savings. Greater numbers of DC savers, coupled with this flexibility of access, will increase the risk and complexity faced by savers at and during retirement.
Given the potential risks involved for those retiring with DC savings and the rapid expansion of the workplace DC market, it's important that a comprehensive compendium of DC research, statistics and longitudinal studies is available to allow observation and analysis of developing trends. So, the DC Future Book was created to set out available data on the DC landscape alongside commentary, analysis and projections of future trends.
Now approaching its 7th edition, the Future Book has become an essential source of longitudinal data tracking trends across the DC landscape. Since starting the Future Book in 2015, we've seen automatic enrolment grow rapidly, with an additional 5.1 million employees having been automatically enrolled in that time. We've also seen trends in access to DC savings change dramatically, having published the first edition in the same year that pension flexibilities came into force. And through our annual DC Asset Allocation Survey, carried out as part of the Future Book series, we've tracked changes in asset allocation trends across DC schemes. In addition to creating a compendium of DC data over the last 7 editions, each year we've highlighted a particular topical area of the DC landscape.
The first edition of the Future Book in 2015 highlighted the key trends and challenges emerging in the DC landscape, including demographic and policy changes impacting the risks associated with DC saving, and the challenge of achieving adequate retirement outcomes against the backdrop of these risks.
In 2016, we put a spotlight on how the role of defaults has changed in the new, more flexible pensions landscape, and the implications for savers, highlighting the complexity of the decisions individuals need to make about how to access and use their DC savings to achieve adequate retirement outcomes.
The third edition of the Future Book considered which default fund investment strategies might be the most appropriate for people of varying income and attitudinal characteristics, and provided evidence that while high-risk funds deliver the highest potential returns, diversified funds better protect funds from the risk of experiencing particularly low returns.
The 2018 edition investigated how lower savings and assets and higher consumption needs for those approaching retirement compared to those already retired might affect the way people access savings, use products and invest in the future, emphasising the need for greater support in terms of default pathways, advice and guidance.
In 2019, we explored the way that changes in scheme governance could potentially increase DC pot sizes, and we found that diversified investment strategies, increased investment in illiquid assets, appropriate consideration of ESG risks, and reducing charges could all increase DC pot sizes together and separately. But we also found that changes in individual behaviour, such as increasing contributions and working for longer, had the most substantial chance of increasing incomes in retirement.
Last year's edition of the Future Book discussed the variety of approaches available to schemes when taking consideration of ESG risks. While different approaches will be more appropriate for different schemes, especially influenced by size and type of scheme, there are some common themes emerging, particularly the ongoing need for improved knowledge and understanding among decision makers, and the continued debate between divestment and engagement.